So now I'm replacing the cabin filter. This is the old one, and there's a new one that the previous owner supplied me with. You can see a pretty good difference. This one's darker and this one's brighter. Pretty much for this, all you have to do is just remove the 4 screws that are holding the cabin filter. Pop this screen off, and there's a little frame that holds it in place. That slides in and slides out. All you have to do is just put the cabin filter into the frame and then put it back in. After I finish putting this back together, I'm going to move on to taking off the fake carbon fiber on these mirrors. And by the looks of it, it looks like it's unpainted and it's just gray, so I might just wrap these black because I do have some black film left over. So we will see, or I might just take them to get them painted or leave them gray for the time being. So now let's go ahead and take this ugly wrap off, even though it's also ugly underneath, but whatever. Okay, finally took the wrap off. Also was curious about the battery, so I took off the cover right there. All you gotta do is just prop it up, but before you do that, gotta unscrew these, which these were not screwed in, they were just sitting there, go figure. And I'm sure you guys remember how I told you this car had subs, which I had the previous owner take them out, and they left all the wiring. So now I gotta pull all this out, and looks like the wiring right here goes to the front. So I gotta yank all this stuff out, just because I have no use for it whatsoever. But I'm gonna take a look at the battery and see how old it is to see when it needs to be replaced. So I've got all the wires from underneath the trunk. There they all are. There's a few more, but I already took them off. Looks like these wires go all the way to the head unit up front. So I think I'm gonna have to pop this out again and disconnect everything. So let's get to it. So I finally got all the wires out from underneath, from the battery, from underneath the car. Had to take off the center console once again and unplug all the wires from the back of this head unit. And I know some of you might complain because you like subs, but me personally, I don't. I just prefer some nice speakers. Where are they at? Somewhere. But I prefer nice speakers over some loud subs which shake your car to death. So the speakers in this thing are okay. I'm probably gonna end up getting some new ones in the future, but these will do for now. Also, it's kind of funny. The previous owner was like, yeah, it's clean, no rust. Yeah, no rust my ass. I mean, look at this. Look at that. No rust. Yeah, definitely. So I guess I'll know for next time to check underneath the floor mats. That's one thing I missed. So it's not a problem for me, really. I'm gonna end up fixing this and cutting all this out. I just wish, you know, people were honest and not liars, but this is the world we live in. And this is something I'm gonna have to deal with if I want to keep this car for a long time. So there'll be a video sometime this winter or early spring of me repairing this. Hopefully I'll get to it in time before the whole car rusts away, but we will see. So now I'm installing the back seat covers. Previously they were held in with a single screw right there, which makes no sense because they literally put the screw through the headrest motor. It's actually pretty close, they almost did. But I pretty much decided to make my own little brackets that are going to be holding it in place. I couldn't find the replacement part for this. I searched all over the internet. So I actually happen to have these brackets that slide in there perfectly. And I'm gonna get some correct screws that screw in from the bottom. And I'm gonna do the same thing with the other side as well. And after that, I'm gonna move on to the door actuators. So I've got the rear seats all fixed up, mounted. They're really in there. Unfortunately, I am left with 2 screw holes, right? One right there and one over there. But as of now, I'm working on the door regulators. So you take off the door card by removing 3 bolts, one right there, and there should be one more somewhere. And then the regulator is actually inside right there. You gotta take off these 2 screws. But first you wanna pop this off, take off these 2 screws, and then take the pin out right there at the top, push it out, and you disconnect it right here. I already installed a new one and I tried it out, and this door finally works. After I put this back together, I just have to remove this door card and do the same thing on that side. And yesterday I also ended up installing the skid plate. I did it late at night, so I didn't record just because it was so dark. Just had my new LED license plate lights come in, so let's go ahead and replace these ones because mine don't work. Pretty much all you got to do is take off 2 screws right here, pop the assembly out, unplug them, and then do everything in reverse. So here's the new light, that's LED, and there's the old one. Very corroded. Pretty much all you have to do is just take off this rubber gasket from here and put it on this one. And here are the connections right here. So after about an hour, I'm still working on these lights. I tried all the new ones, they didn't work. I looked further into it and majority of the connectors were damaged and corroded. But I ended up trying to see where the wire leads to see if this may be disconnected as well. I couldn't really find anything. I checked all the fuse boxes and all the fuses were fine. Then I was like, you know what, let me try to make new wires and try it again. And what do you know? After plugging this in, the LED lights actually lit up. So I'm going ahead and then making some new wires right now and crimping in with these. I don't have any insulation unfortunately, so I can't really solder them just yet because it's going to be exposed, but for the time being I'm just going to use these crimping connectors right here. So yeah, I got that figured out. All I gotta do is just do this side, and you can obviously see how corroded and damaged these are. So this took a lot longer than expected. Pretty much I won't be able to run these for a little bit until I figure out what the issue is, but for some reason on this side the LED light will flash on and off continuously, but on this side it works perfectly fine. I replaced the wires so there's no corrosion, but I don't know if like the wires are messed up further down the line or what, but I'm gonna do some research and I'll figure out a way for me to run these ones, just because it looks so nice and bright and they're white compared to these yellow ones. So I'm sure you're wondering what these are for. Pretty much the previous owner or whoever took off the Rhino horn for the phones and satellite and they just taped it up, and the tape is all dry rotted and it's falling off, so it causes water to leak on the floor mats. So I'm gonna have to take care of that. And instead of fixing the sunroof, they also taped it up with tape, which just is like etched on there now. So I'm gonna have to wet sand this and buff it whenever I fix the sunroof. I'm sure you guys are wondering why I'm outside right now, but this side of the exhaust fell off. Noticed it this morning, and I was wondering like, what is that hanging? But it's the exhaust. I mean, whoever did this weld job is an absolute idiot. Holy hell, that is horrible. Well, I guess it's a good thing I'm ordering some exhaust tips, so I'm gonna have a whole new exhaust made from scratch. Now I gotta rip this off. So I got some good news. I just took off the door handle just because the button was sticking. You gotta replace the O-ring inside that's preventing it from sliding back and forth freely. But it turns out that this is actually a cover for the door handle. So these carbon fiber things are actually covers. So it turns out that this isn't actually a full carbon fiber door handle. It's actually just a cover that I gotta pop off. So now I'm going to go around and take off all of them and take off the carbon fiber. Okay, so after you remove the door handle, you pretty much will have to unscrew this little piece right here, and it's going to be in there. You unscrew that, you pop this out. Then you can take this out if you want, you don't have to. And then there's this ring right here, metal ring, that's holding this assembly in place. And there's this little bracket right there that sits inside the spring that holds the button down and has it decompress when you press it. But the issue was the O-ring that's around this chamber right here was broken and cracked, so it's preventing it from sliding in and out smoothly. So I went to the store And I bought these gaskets right here. Let me show you the size, so that way you guys know. They are the 7/8. So yeah, all you gotta do is just pop the gasket over it and assemble it all back and put it back together. And I went ahead and took off the carbon fiber overlay, and it looks much better this way. Once I wrap the car black, I might get these painted so it matches a lot better, because these are pretty dull. Check out how easy it is to open it now. And this is the old one. Gotta press really hard and get stuck half the time. So I just took off the front cover. The cover's a friend of the engine, because I was going to inspect the air filters and see how dirty they are. And then I noticed this major valve cover leak, which the funny thing is, I asked the previous owner if there's any leaks in the car, and he said no, there's not. But of course it's complete bullshit, and I kind of figured that was the case. But I ended up getting the car anyways, just because I knew this car was going to have these issues, just because the previous owners of this car didn't really seem to take good care of this thing. But sometime this winter or late fall, I'm going to have to take off the valve covers and replace both of them. This one seems pretty dry, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyways, since I'm going to be in that area. And then later, when I have some time, I'm going to pull the car in and see if the oil pan is also leaking, to see if that needs to be replaced. But to get to the air filters, you have to pop the front off, and then there are these clips right here that you pull up on this. But before you do this part, you got to take off these air filter hoses right here. Take them off and pull them off to the side, and then you can pop off this whole entire thing, whatever it's called. And you got to flip it over, and then the air filters are hidden right there underneath. All you got to do is just take off some screws, and you're there. So I pop the cover off. Of course, it's broken right there in the corner. If I flip it over, there are the screws right there to hold the air filters on both sides. And this is what the engine looks like without the cover. It's gonna need some major detailing, that's for sure. Okay, so I unscrewed the caps for the filters, and this is the first one. And this one seems pretty dirty compared to the other one, so I'm gonna go ahead and order some new filters and get these things replaced, because they're pretty gross. And after I replace them, the car's gonna breathe with some fresh air. So I just received my K&N air filters, and we're gonna go ahead and change them out. But I'm not gonna bore you guys to death with me changing these out, just because I already talked about how to do it before. So there's the before and there's the after. I did get new exhaust tips on both sides, and I got it welded with a stainless steel metal that goes all the way down there. You can see how the colors are changing, purple and gold and stuff. Probably hard to see with a camera, but so yeah, there's that.